Hi, and welcome to the Product Launch Ignition video series. In this video series, I'm going to talk about product launches and take from my six-figure launches and so forth, and show you, all the mistakes that I made so you don't make the same mistakes as me, and how you can launch a successful product launch. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to talk about is kind of the idea behind all of this. One of my mentors said at one time, he said he would always use the phrase, "Don't leave money on the table." So the question to you is, how are you leaving money on the table? Now, if you don't know exactly what that means, this is what it means. Don't leave money on the table means, what are you doing, or what are you not doing? What are you doing that can affect your profits in any way, or lower your profits in any way, or what are you not doing, and so forth. So that's kind of the whole idea behind this video series. Is launching product can be something that's very tedious if you don't know what you're doing, because there's a lot of things that are involved in launching a product. It's not just, okay, you get a product and launch it. There's a lot involved. So if you don't know what you're doing, then you can get lost amidst everything you need to do, and you could be losing money along the way. But with this video series, it'll help you find those holes and plug up those holes. Now, before I move to video 2 and start showing you how to plan a product launch, I want to talk briefly about this video series and give you a quick overview and how it all works. So let's go ahead and get started. Video number 1 is this video, and video number 2, I'm going to show you how to plan your product launch. You see, before you actually implement your product launch, you need to know what to look for. What does a launch entail? What kind of tools do you need? Things like that. So planning your launch is a very, very vital and important part of your whole product launch. Get it wrong, and you're going to lose a lot of money and leave a lot of money on the table. Get it right, and you might gain some of that back. Plug all the holes, and you might gain more. And you might achieve whatever you're trying to achieve, which is helping people, helping your customers, and in the end, profiting. Video number 3 is going to talk about server and web hosting precautions. Imagine you've spent months or years or a year creating a product, getting all the affiliates, getting everything ready, launching, and then crash. Your server crashes, or worst of all, what happened to me, I was launching one of my products, which became a six-figure launch, but I believe it could have made a lot more, but because I was using about 30 gigabytes a day, which is not a lot, and my web hosting company decided to terminate or temporarily lock and terminate my account. So every time somebody came to my website, they said, "This site has been terminated, temporarily, blah, blah, blah." So you can imagine what's going through the buyer's mind when they see that. And a lot of it, even though the web hosting company said unlimited bandwidth and so forth, a lot of web hosting companies you have to be careful of. So over the years, I've found one web hosting company, and we're going to talk about Amazon S3, web hosting companies and so forth, and how to protect yourself and prevent from a server crash or a termination. Video number 4, we're going to talk about finding and contacting affiliates. There's a right way to do that, and there's a wrong way to do that. And even though you contact people and they say, "Yeah, I'll promote," it doesn't always mean that they're going to be able to convert a promotion into sales. And it all relates to your sales funnel and how your product launch is laid out, and how your site is laid out, and the ease of it, and everything like that. So finding and contacting affiliates. But once you contact your affiliates, let's say that they say, "Yes, I'll promote your product." Then what? Well, in video number 5, we're going to talk about affiliate promotional tools. The purpose of these promotional tools is to provide the affiliate who has a busy schedule with solo email ads, videos, and resources for them to use to promote your product. You see, an affiliate, because they're so busy, they're most likely not going to have time to set up an account and this and that. They do have time to promote your product, but if you give them pretty much a kickstart, set up everything for them, and give them a head start, then make it easy for them and they'll promote your product easily. That's why we need promotional tools. Video number 6, we're going to talk about contests. Do you need a contest or you don't need a contest? Some people do, some people don't. Sometimes it doesn't really matter. And we'll talk more about that in that video. So it really depends on your product in itself. Video number 7, we're going to talk about pre-launches. The purpose of a pre-launch is to build curiosity. You see, if you just launch a product and that's it, people don't even know it's coming. But if people do know it's coming, then you have time to pre-launch it. You have time to build curiosity. So let's say, for example, somebody tells you a week in advance, hey, we're going to go to so-and-so's party. So a week in advance, you have time to plan. You have time to, clean up your hair and so forth. But if somebody says, hey, so-and-so is having a party today, but you've already planned your day and so forth, you might not be able to go to the party because you already have a plan. That's the case, as you can see with this analogy, it's better to pre-launch than to not pre-launch because you're losing a lot of money and you're leaving a lot of money on the table and a lot of profits and the ability to reach more people. So whether you look at it as profits or helping people, you're still losing out. Video number 8, we're going to talk about the big launch day. Now, the big launch day is really the starting point. It's not the end. Product launches or launches never end. The method of the snowball effect is very powerful, but you have to use it correctly. You have to use the pre-launch and the launch combined to use the snowball effect. I've used the snowball effect and it's really helped a lot. It's helped bring in a lot of profits. Video number 9, we're going to talk about the follow-up. The purpose of the follow-up is to help stragglers, people who are sitting on the fence, who don't really know if they want to buy your product, help them figure out if they want to buy your product. Give them a extra push. Now let's talk about the tools that you're going to need. Fortunately, we've pretty much laid out everything that, how it works and what you're going to need. But in specifics, you're going to need a plan. So we're going to talk about that in video number 2. You also need good web hosting. I'll talk more about that in video number 3. And you're going to need time and money. This is not a get-rich-quick thing. Even though I've had a lot of product launches and I've launched successfully, I've had a lot of fail launches, but I've had a lot of six-figure launches. Time and money, you're going to need the time before you pre-launch. If you don't have the time, then I would say you need to make time. Make at least from the point that your product is done and everything is done, the affiliate promotional tools are ready, you need to give at least 1 month in advance to your affiliates so that they can plan ahead. One thing I've noticed about a lot of people is they launch a product and they email the affiliate assuming that the affiliate should promote it today. That's wrong and that's unfair to the affiliates. You also need a push forward attitude of perseverance. This is not going to be super easy. It's not going to be super hard either, but it's going to take time and money, and you're going to need perseverance. You don't have perseverance, you're not really going to enjoy product launches and launching your product. But if you do, and you come this far, you created all your products, then you should have that attitude. So with that said, let's move on to video number 2. Let me show you how to plan your launch correctly so that we can fill in all the holes as much as possible so you don't leave any money on the table and you're able to reach as many people as possible. Hi, and welcome to video number 2, planning your launch. This video is a little bit longer than the other videos, primarily because there's a lot more content and we're going to try to cover as much as possible. So feel free to pause this video at any time, but let's go ahead and get started. The first question I want to ask you is, what is your product? And the reason why I'm asking you this question is because product launches can be very different depending on the product. Is your product an ebook? Is it a video? Is it, software? What is it? If it's an ebook or report, that usually doesn't take a lot of bandwidth. If you have a lot of videos, then you might need to pay attention to your bandwidth and how much you're going to need, and so forth. So what is your product? Now, through this whole time, I'm going to be asking you lots of questions so that you can make sure that you have these areas plugged in so you don't leave any money on the table. The next thing is you want to keep your ducks in a row. Make sure that you have everything lined up. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, but they're going to act like checklists. So you want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. You want to also have a backup plan. Backup plan meaning, okay, what if the server does crash? What if? I want you to ask, what if? Even though you have it right now, what if? I like to ask that question because you never know. You've got to have a backup plan. If you don't have a backup plan and something does happen, then you're going to have to figure out that plan at that given moment. But if you have a backup plan, you can always change gears and switch back and forth. For example, I have a software product, and what I did is it's a script. So you have to go and log on to the website. But let's say, for example, that script crashes. Well, I have that script on multiple web hosting, different servers. So if one crashes, then I can always switch it, so I don't have to worry about it. And I have that set up so I don't have to worry, if something does crash. Most of the time it doesn't, but that's pretty much the backup plan. And you pretty much want to usually have a backup plan, especially in relation to web hosting, software, anything technical related generally. Now, the first specific area that I want to talk about is communication. Communication is very important when you're communicating with your affiliates, with your customers, with your prospects, and so forth. So, communication. What kind of autoresponder will you use? Are you going to be using a third-party service like Aweber, GetResponse, and so forth? Or are you going to use a personal autoresponder? For example, you're going to host the autoresponder on your server. For example, Parabots. Parabots, if you go to parabots.com, or I believe if you Google Parabots, you will find a free script that allows you to build a list. Now, the only problem with hosting it on your own server is over the amount of time, over the amount of days, over the amount of months, people keep clicking the spam button, then that can affect, you trying to email your customers, your prospects, and their affiliates. But with Aweber and GetResponse, you usually can get through to them and bypass their spam folder because Aweber and GetResponse usually work with these ISPs. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. How will you communicate with your customers, your prospects, and your affiliates? So communication, very, very important. In fact, the number one thing, if you don't communicate well with your affiliates, you may not get the profits and the conversions that you want. You don't communicate with your customers, they're going to be angry, they want a refund, and so forth. You don't communicate with your prospects over and over again, they may not ever turn into sales. But if you do communicate with them, they might. So communication is very important. Now let me go ahead and move on because we still have a good amount to cover. Web hosting. You're going to learn more about web hosting and the precautions that you will need to take in video number 3. But Questions that I want to ask you is, what web hosting will you use? Are you going to use Amazon S3? Are you going to use a virtual private server or a dedicated server? I will say this, do not, whatever you do not use a shared hosting server. If that shared hosting server crashes on you, then you're screwed. You're gonna pay the price. You don't need to go all out and get a dedicated server. You can if you got a lot of software and videos, big files and so forth, or you can use Amazon S3 as well. But I'm going to show you ways to go about the system so that you pay less than what you would pay with Amazon S3 and get a pretty good deal. Who can you contact if something goes wrong? If your server does crash or Amazon does crash, who can you contact if something goes wrong? So you want to do your research beforehand so you know who to contact. And most importantly, ensure that they respond to you fairly quickly. So I would say even test them out beforehand before you launch the product to see how fast they respond. Because you can tell a lot about a company on how fast they respond. If they take 3 days, 4 days to respond, you might want to change web hosting servers. Next question I want to ask you is, how much bandwidth do you need? Remember how I asked you what is your product? Well, this is the reason why. If you have a lot of videos and have a lot of software or big files, you need to figure out exactly the total amount of your megabytes or gigabytes. So let's say, for example, that I have a video product and it's 100 megabytes. 10 people download that, that's about almost a gigabyte. So if 10 people downloaded a 100 megabyte file, and then you take the megabyte total, multiply it by the potential amount of people that may buy the product. So if you have, let's say, 1,000 people come in, then that's 1,000 times 10 megabytes, convert it to gigabytes, and you get whatever bandwidth you might need. Now, bandwidth includes whatever you upload and whatever you download. You're also going to have to figure out how much RAM do you need. RAM is basically like memory, and how more RAM you have, the more memory. Now, I'm not talking about space. I'm talking about how fast your server can deal with certain processes and things like that. So we'll talk more about that in that web hosting video in video number 3. Let's talk about the sales funnel. Sales funnel is pretty much very, very important. It's like the middle part of your whole product launch. Now, if you don't know what a sales funnel is, a sales funnel is the starting point where the customer comes in up to the end where they get the products, you email them and so forth, and they go through, they pay. That's your sales funnel. So your sales funnel is very, very important. First thing is, how are you going to set up your sales funnel? Is your sales funnel easy for your customer? Or does your sales funnel create confusion? Now, in terms of sales funnel and how to set it up, it's actually very, very easy. I'd say if you get access to a software like a membership script, then you'll be able to set up your sales funnel easily. Now, if I were to recommend a software or a shopping cart membership script, I would recommend Amember Pro. I personally use Amember Pro, and I know a lot of guys and a lot of people that use Amember Pro, and over the years it has been great because you can go from setting up your site, securing your site, adding a payment processor into the shopping cart, the Amember Pro, getting people to download your products and so forth. So you need to think to yourself, what is your sales funnel going to look like? And pretty much the solution to that is getting good shopping cart or membership script software. Wishlist is another good software if you want to use WordPress and so forth. So those are the questions that you need to ask yourself and answer them. What kind of software or shopping carts are you going to use, and how will people get your products, which is very important. If you don't have it set up so that your customers buy the product and they get the products immediately after payment, you're going to look at a lot of refunds on your hand. Next thing I want to talk about is affiliates. How will you find and contact affiliates? And that's what we're going to talk about in the future videos. How do you find and contact affiliates? That's going to be pretty easy if you do it right. The next thing I want to talk about is affiliate networks and affiliate software. What affiliate software or network are you going to use? Amember Pro does integrate with ClickBank. And so if you want to use ClickBank, for example, ClickBank I would actually highly recommend, primarily because a lot of people can go in, promote your products, make sales, and ClickBank will pay them money, and you don't have to worry about paying your affiliates on time and so forth, which you can save a lot of money if you don't use ClickBank, but you could lose a lot of money as well because it's trade back. It's a trade-off because a lot of affiliates want to get paid on time, and they can't get paid on time unless you use ClickBank affiliate network. Let's talk about the 80-20 rule. You need to figure out which affiliates will bring in more profits. Those are usually the 20%, the top 20%. Find out who those affiliates will be, study your affiliates, and focus on your affiliates. You could even put in a special thing like, okay, you make this many sales, I'll bump you up to this much percentage, and so forth. So which affiliates will bring in more? I have found with product launches that over the years that most people, it's usually the top 5 out of 200 affiliates usually bring in 80% of the income. And that's really how it works. So if you can focus on those 5 to 10 people, or those 20%, whatever your number is, then that will be very profitable for you and the affiliate. Plus, you can reach more people and help more people. Another question, how will you pay your affiliates? That's why I was saying ClickBank. If you use ClickBank, you don't have to worry about paying your affiliates because ClickBank will pay your affiliates. If you go with pay.com or PayPal, iDev affiliates, and so forth, yes, you might save some money, but it's going to take a lot of time out of your own hands unless you want to be your own affiliate manager and so forth. So how will you pay your affiliates? Next thing is contest or no contest. If you're going to use a contest for your affiliates, what kind of software are you going to use? In fact, when we talk about contest or no contest, I'm actually going to point you to a specific software that will be very profitable for you if you use it, and will allow you to build a massive list virally. All right, so there's 5 more things that I want to go through, so I'm going to wrap it up in here in a bit. Is you want to figure out what method of sales pitch you're going to use. In terms of, are you going to be using scarcity or a time limit, or are you going to do a fire sale? Fire sale, if you don't know what that is, it's like, you tell people for the next 2 days you're going to pay $17. Every day after that it moves up. That's a fire sale, and that works pretty well. Another thing that I found that worked pretty well is if you combine scarcity and time limits together. Usually what we do is I develop a product, I'll launch it, and for example, private label rights, videos, I'll create, videos, and I'll say, hey, we're going to do 500 copies first, or 7 days, whatever comes first. So if you combine the two, I found that actually helps very well. Because if you just say, okay, 7 days, it doesn't really use scarcity. If you just say 500 copies first, then 500 copies could take 14 days. But if you combine them together, you will pretty much do a lot better job because you're combining scarcity or 7 days. The buyer usually does not know which one will come first. I have found personally that usually the 500 copies comes first, but 7 days is just there just in case. Another thing you want to do is keep your promises. Take it down when the time or the copies run out. Keep your promise. If you're going to say 300 to 500 copies are going to be sold, make sure you take it down when the time runs out. Otherwise, when you launch it again in the future, people are not going to take you as seriously. Next thing I want to talk about is testing. Once you're done with your sales funnel, you set up your membership script, you set up your download page, and so forth, it's time to test your funnel. You could ask your friend to test it, purchase the product, make sure it all works beforehand. Worst thing to do is launch a product, your server is up and running, but when somebody wants to buy, they can't buy. And that's going to lose a lot of sales right there. Next thing I want to talk about is launch time and length. When is your pre-launch? Is there enough time between your pre-launch and your launch? Usually you want to pre-launch maybe 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks before your actual launch. And before your launch, your pre-launch and you're finishing your product, contacting, I would actually wait about a month. Then pre-launch, and then 2 to 3 weeks later, then and only then launch your product. I found that to work pretty well. So when will you launch your product? How long will you launch? Are you going to use a scarcity method and the time limit method, or are you just going to use one of the two? So you want to figure that out. Let's talk about the pre-launch, which is building curiosity. How will you pre-launch? What are you going to give away for free? Are you going to give away free videos, maybe once a day for 7 days? Or are you going to just give all the free videos at one time? Are you going to give a free trial version of the videos or the software and so forth? I'll talk more about pre-launch and the pre-launch videos, individual video later on. But you definitely want to keep in mind and think about that right now, because pre-launch can be the difference between bringing a lot of profits in and leaving a lot of money on the table if you don't do a pre-launch. Now, the last thing I want to do is talk about upsells. Your front-end product could be the only product you want to launch, and that's fine. But if you don't add something called a one-time offer or an upsell, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So what an upsell is, or one-time offer, usually happens after somebody buys the product. It's not like you go to McDonald's and they say you want fries with that, or you want to upgrade to, large or medium and so forth. Now, while that can work, the type of upsells, you can use that, that's fine. But the type of upsells and one-time offers that I've found that worked is if you add it after they buy the front-end product. And you want to make sure that they are complementary to your front-end product. So if your front-end product is about, let's say, wedding speeches, best man wedding speeches, then you might want to offer a one-time offer. For example, hey, I'll write your best man wedding speech, or I'll write your wedding speech, or so forth. So one-time offers are great. Done-for-you services are great where you do it for them. I found that to be very profitable. You can charge a little more for that for people that don't want to do whatever it is, because people are pretty busy and they don't have a lot of time. So I found that works. If you are going to offer a one-time offer, double the price if you can. So that's pretty much it for planning your launch. Of course, there's a lot more into it, but I'll cover that this video series. Hi, and welcome to video number 3. We're going to talk about server and web hosting precautions. Now, before you invest money into web hosting and a server and so forth, the first thing you need to do is figure out how big of a launch you're going to have. Now, how big of a launch can determine on how many affiliates you have promoting, but also to predict it well, you need to figure out what kind of files you're providing in your launch and how big those files are. For example, if you're providing a video series and the video series is, let's say, 20 megabytes total, you're probably not going to have to worry too much about bandwidth costs and so forth. Now, just keep in mind that most web hosting companies will charge you once you surpass about 1,000 to 1,500 gigabytes of bandwidth, which is a lot. So if you're only operating and your product is only 20 to even 50 megabytes, then I don't think you really need to invest money into a dedicated server and so forth. But if you're like me and you launch a lot of video products and your video products come up to be about 500 megabytes to 1 gigabyte downloads, then in that case, you might want to pay close attention. So you need to figure out, okay, how big is your launch? Now, even if your launch is small, you need to make sure you put yourself on a good web hosting company. Put yourself on a bad web hosting company, what could happen to me will happen to you in the sense that they can terminate your account anytime. So figure out how big your launch is, what kind of files you're providing, and how big those files are. Now, there are two different directions that you could take. You could either use Amazon S3. Amazon S3 a lot of people use because you don't have to pay a lot of money except for bandwidth. Now, it could add up when you go into, let's say, the 1,000 gigabyte mark. As you can see here with this screenshot with Amazon S3, it's 0.14 cents per gigabyte. So, for example, that's standard storage. So let's say, for example, somebody downloads 1 gigabyte. That's 0.14, which is not a lot of money, but the web hosting company that I'm going to show you, if you don't go over like the 1 terabyte to 1.5 terabyte mark, it's actually cheaper than Amazon S3. But if you're the type of person that uses bandwidth on a big scale, then you want to use Amazon S3 because 1,000 times 0.140 equals $140. So I'm going to show you a site where you can just pay $90 a month and get a lot more bandwidth. Now, so Amazon S3 is an option for you if you want to use. Another option to use is servint.com or servant.net actually. So if you go to the site, Servint, as you can see here, and you click on the products tab and you go directly to their enterprise VPS, which is their lowest packages. These are actually pretty good packages. As you can see, the first package, they give you 50 gigabytes of storage space and 1 terabyte of monthly transfer. That means you get 1,000 gigabytes of bandwidth. So if you're operating on anywhere from 20 to 100 megabytes, then you could get this package because you're not going to get a whole lot downloads unless you sell, 10,000 copies or so forth. Signature VPS is what I have, and I've used it to launch many launches, and it's done actually quite successful. The bottom line is, ask yourself, what do you need? If you don't need a lot, then go with the Essential VPS. If you do need a lot, then go with the Signature VPS. But one thing with Servant that I have loved over the years is their support. I email them 5 minutes later or even 2 minutes later, whatever I've emailed them, they've answered and they fixed the problem. So, and the good thing about Servant is, let's say that you are on a Essential VPS, but you find that a lot of people are downloading your products and you need more speed. you can always ask them to upgrade you to the signature VPS and so forth. So if you're launching, you can always go with the ultimate VPS, and then you find that you really don't need it, you can always ask them after the launch to, go from the ultimate VPS down to the essential VPS. So Servant is very flexible, and I've used well over 45 web hosting companies and found that many of them simply crash. And I've even run a web hosting company, and now I use Servant because when they add you to the server, they give you what we call a VPS. So if somebody else crashes their server, it doesn't crash your server. If you go with a site like HostGator.com and you go with their shared monthly or reseller accounts, if somebody crashes a server, then your site's going to go down. So that's why you want a VPS, not a shared account. Now that we have discussed that, let me talk about one last thing. Don't put everything into one basket or one server. The key to getting your server and keeping it live is to use multiple servers or multiple locations. One thing I've learned over the years is to have your sales page on one server, your images on another server, and the files that people are downloading on another server. Now, this might be a little bit overboard, but using this specific method has really helped me to have no crashes whatsoever at all. And we had one site that received almost 1 million hits, and it was a 6-figure launch. It was a very good launch, but we received almost 1 million hits within a week span. And doing so, we use the same method. The front sales page is on one server, images are another server, and downloadable files is on another server, and it all worked out. It was always up, and it was always up and running. And obviously, make sure you renew your domain name, because your domain has a lot to do with it as well. If your domain name expires, then you're screwed. So in terms of web hosting, make sure you follow these precautions. Make sure that you email your hosting support and payment processor before the launch. And that's what I always do. I email the hosting support, tell them, hey, I'm having a product launch. So I just want to make you aware of that. And email your payment processor as well, whether it's ClickBank, whether it's PayPal. Tell them in advance, hey, I'm going to have a lot of sales come in, so it doesn't shock you or anything like that. Because PayPal, I found, if you launch a product and they see a spike in your profits and so, they might lock your account. But usually nowadays when I tell them that, they put a note in there, so if there is a spike, they know why. So make sure you follow these guidelines, your web hosting, make sure your web hosting support knows, make sure that they email you fast if you do choose to use another web hosting company. But be aware that many web hosting companies, especially the ones that promise unlimited plans, I would highly likely stay away from those web hosting companies, because when you're putting all your eggs in that web hosting company and you trust that web hosting company to keep you up, you need to make sure they're legit. And if they're offering you all these unlimited plans, I'd highly recommend that you stay away from those companies. So with that said, this specific advice should help you and should help prevent any web hosting crashes in the future. Not exactly guaranteed, but if you use Servant, I guarantee you that their support is phenomenal. Hi, and welcome to video number 4. We're going to talk about finding and contacting affiliates. Now, there's a right way to contact affiliates, and there's a wrong way of contacting affiliates. One tip that I can give you right now is to contact people in your sub-niche, not in your general niche. Let's say, for example, that you are selling a product and your product deals with wedding speeches. In specifics, best man wedding speeches. Now let's say, for example, that you happen to find a blog on weddings, but it's not necessarily about wedding speeches. It's more about, how to find your best wedding dress. Now, it is in the same niche, and it's a possibility that this person that has this blog or list about wedding dresses may have people on there that may say, oh, okay, well, best man wedding product. That might help. Well, that might convert into maybe a few sales here and there. It's not exactly super targeted. And the person that's writing the list, writing the blog and has the list, they may or may not say yes. Now here's a method that you probably want to use. That way you can save time. Contact the people in your sub-niche. That's it. Contact the people, let's say, for example, that are writing blogs on best man wedding speeches. Or even wedding speeches. Doesn't have to be best man wedding speeches. But it has to be some sort of thing related to wedding speeches. Because if you targeted these types of people, they're already in your sub-niche. And you might see them, yes, they might be direct competitors, or they might just be list owners and bloggers who are looking for people like you to promote your product. Now, when you approach these people, there's a specific method that I use that happens to work very well. First, you need to build a relationship first. Don't go email them and say, hey, I got this awesome product that's going to fit your list. Well, that might help a little bit because you're in the same sub-niche. That's not exactly, you're not going to rub them right. You might rub them wrong and they're just not going to reply to your email. So the first thing, build a relationship with them first. How do you do that? Well, one way to do it is to sign up on their list. Target specific people who have lists or blogs. Respond to their blog or respond to their email address. Say, hey, I noticed that you wrote an article on wedding speeches. I really like that. Ask them a question. Once they respond to your email, then you can build a relationship with them. So, in other words, when you email them, try to get some small talk going first. And then you could say, hey, how can I help you? Don't ask them to do something for you first. Do something for them first. And then you can later, after you've had a few chats here and there, you can say, hey, I got a product on best man wedding speeches. I noticed that you had a blog on wedding speeches. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Here's a link to my product if you want to review it and so forth and see where that goes. Because the one biggest mistake that people make is when they contact, just imagine somebody random contacting you. You don't know anything about them, but they say, hey, I need you to promote a product. Your response is probably going to be, I don't really know you. But if they contact you and they're on your list, that's one step above the person that doesn't know you. At least they're on your list and at least they're contacting you. They're a subscriber of your list and they say, hey, I really enjoyed this, and so forth. So that's a good way to build a relationship first. Now what I want to do is go to Google and show you how to find affiliates. So one thing I do is I go to Google and you want to figure out the most general keyword you can. So I'm going to type in wedding speeches. And then next to it, you want to put in quotations, subscribe here. Click on search. And what this enables us to do is find people with lists or blogs and so forth. Another thing you can do is, because your goal here is to find people with lists, and you can create a separate email account if you want to. But you go through and you try to find somebody with a list. Follow me on Twitter. You can follow them on Twitter. You can sign up on their list and so forth. sign up for our free newsletter. So sign up, put your zip code, put your email address, and so forth. Now, some of these are big sites, so you got to keep that in mind. Some of these are really big sites, and they might not be open to doing a joint venture with you. So another thing to do is figure out what sites are about medium size or even small size. Most of those people are more open to doing a joint venture with you. Another keyword to use is subscribe to. So replace this here with subscribe to. That enables you to find Google to help you find everything related to wedding speeches, but somebody who is trying to build a list or has a list. Another keyword is join list. And the last keyword that I normally use is join my list. So as you saw, the first two got better results, but after you've gotten as many pages as you could, then you can move on to a different keyword and so forth. So the whole idea of this is to find everybody related to wedding speeches who is trying to build a list. If they're trying to build a list, that means they have a list, and they have a list of subscribers, which means that they are a good potential and good person to build a relationship with and get them to promote your product. As you can see, it is kind of time consuming, but it is pretty powerful, and it enables you to contact people who would be good candidates to promote your product. Hi, and welcome to video number 5. We're going to talk about how you can go about creating promotional tools for your affiliates. Once you have an affiliate say yes, then what? Now it's time to provide them with the necessary promotional tools. And the reason being is because most affiliates are very busy, and if you provide them with promotional tools, they can take the emails, take the videos, take the Google AdWords written ads, and then tweak them as they wish to their own liking. So it pretty much is a provided tool or email or whatever that they can use and get started with. Not everybody is going to use the same exact email that you provide, but they're going to use that as a starting point. So one thing before I want to get started is say it would be wise for you to do a small test, or at least get some people to review it and make sure that it is something that is going to convert. Now, instead of talking about how to write email promos and so forth, I want to provide you with and point you to a resource that you can use right away. In fact, if you go to emailpromosexposed.com, it's Michael Rasmussen's product, and if you go to that site, it'll go directly to this thank you page. And as you can see, you can get free instant access to these videos that show you how to write email promos. Now, in terms of banner ads, I would recommend a site called $20banners.com, as you can see here. And you can go to other sites like warriorforum.com and look in their section on hiring graphic designers and so forth. You can go to Digital Point forums to find people and so forth. You don't have to use this site, but I wanted to provide this site to you as a resource if you chose to get some banner ads created. Now, in terms of email promos, if you feel like after you've watched this video series you still want to get somebody else to write the email promos, you can do that. You can go to guru.com. There are tons and tons of people that are good at writing sales copy. So you want to look specifically for sales copywriters. So if you go here, type that keyword in, as you can see here, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that write sales copy that you could create a project, invite these people to write the email promos and so forth for you. Now let me give you some examples. If I go to Michael Rasmussen's JV page, he provides promotional tools to his affiliates. Now, as you can see, he provides affiliate links, text links, email copy, signature ads, pop-up codes, cover graphics, email solo ads, as you can see here, signature ads for forums, pop-up codes, cover graphics, banner ads, and easing ads, sponsor ads, safe list ads, pay-per-click, Google AdWords ads, and much more. So this is just an example of what you can provide. You don't have to provide everything, but at the bottom line and the basic, you need to provide at least the affiliate link, email copy, signature ads, and banner ads, and possibly pay-per-click ads. That's basic. Another example is I'm going to use Russell Brunson's .com secrets, his affiliate page here. As you can see with the affiliate page, he tells you, okay, we're paying 50% on the front end sale and 30% on the one-time offer. So he makes it pretty clear as to how much he is paying you. He's also providing you with email, form signatures, text links, or email ads, form signatures, text links, blog reviews, articles, and thank you pages. So that is pretty basic at the basic level. You can provide just emails, at least, and articles, and so forth. So as you can see, if I were very busy, and I was a very busy person, and I am a very busy person, and I want to promote Russell Brunson's products, then all I have to do is take one of the email ads, for example, emails, and then take this. And of course, I'm not going to copy and paste this and email it to my list. I'm going to rewrite this into my own words and into the way I write, because my list subscribers are used to the way that you write. So as you can see, you're providing tools that are actually converting to your affiliates, and your affiliates can use these tools and tweak them and convert the prospects that they're sending into sales. So what you're doing here is you're pretty much providing promotional tools to make life easier for your affiliates. Because one thing I've realized over the years is that most affiliates just don't have that much time. They might have 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, and the best way to get them to promote is say, hey, I'll set up 100% of everything for you. All you have to do is send the email out, and that's it. And if you tell the affiliate that, most of the time they'll be like, okay, all right, because time is money. But if you tell an affiliate, hey, here's a product, here's a review product, here's a link, promote it, an affiliate that's very busy will feel like, okay, I like this product, but I really don't have time to sit down and write up the email, so I'm just going to pass. So in this case, you could be leaving money on the table because you're not providing your affiliates with the tools that they need. Hi, and welcome to video number 6, which is contest or no contests and prizes. Now the big question is, do you want to do a contest or do you not really care about doing a contest? Contest, it does take a little more time, but if you do it right, you can get a lot of leads and you can, make more profits. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you a piece of software that allows you to build a contest and build a massive list virally using a contest and so forth. Now the software is called Contest Burner, and you can find a link to it down below. But this is what it looks like on the inside. And what Contest Burner is, it's a piece of software that you can install on your website that enables you to run a contest and build a list and so forth. As you can see, you can get Contest Burner for WordPress, and they also have a standalone version. Now, what I like about Contest Burner is it's very easy to install. In fact, they give you training videos and so forth, on how to install Contest Burner and how to use it and so forth. So it's very, very powerful in the sense that it can drive a lot of traffic. You got people out there in the contest using Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and they're constantly driving a lot of traffic to your site. Now, if you want an example of Contest Burner being used, talk to the guys at Contest Burner, and they provided me with this information. But if you can see here, Anik Singhal, he had a contest, and he used Contest Burner to run a contest. And as you can see, it was pretty successful. And if you notice, if you look through here, you've got specific people that are spending about a week or two really trying to get up in the leaderboard. And you can see that it is addicting too, and it's very fun for a lot of these people. So Contest Burner is definitely something that you want to go check out, and you can check it out through the link below. Back in the day when there wasn't Contest Burner, you would have to manually set up everything and track everything, using trackers and URL trackers and so forth. But, this nifty little tool and little script here will really enable you to speed things up and track things easier. So it's really up to you if you want to run a contest or not, but it's worth looking into. Hi, and welcome to video number 7, which is pre-launch to build curiosity. Now, the great thing about the pre-launch is that this is your opportunity to show people what your product is all about, build trust with people, and show people why your product is the product that they need so that you can help them. So in a way, it's sort of like a pre-sale mechanism to help pre-sell your product, get them interested so that they want it, and then when you release, you open your doors, and they are waiting at the door to get your product. It's sort of like those Black Friday sales after Thanksgiving. You might not have this, but in the USA, we have these things called Black Friday, which happens right after Thanksgiving. And the reason why it's called that is because a lot of stores will put their products on sale for super discount prices that you would never find but on Black Friday. And in a way, what they're doing is they're doing pre-launch. They're building curiosity. They're showing people what they're offering. And people are willing to sit at the door, for hours through the morning hours just to get the product. So in a way, pre-launching is similar to that if you do it right. Now, first thing you want to think about is first, what kind of content can you give away for free? Look at your product right now. If you don't have your product, then you might want to think about this, but look at your product right now and figure out, can I take a piece of this product and give it away for free? Or can I recreate another video with a lot of free content that is worth paying for, that people are willing to pay for free? So for example, I'm going to give a video that people are willing to pay for, but I'm going to give it away for free for the pre-launch. One thing that is a good method is to put a video up. You can upload it to YouTube, or you could upload it to your own host. Put the video, and then below the video you can put something like a Facebook comment plugin. Social proof is everything, especially if you're trying to advertise something, because other people are trying to figure out, okay, am I the only person out there that has this question about this product? Or, so-and-so is getting this product, hey, I might want to check it out as well. So in just a minute, I'm going to show you the Facebook comment plugin and show you how to install it on your website and where you can go to get it. This Facebook comment plugin is great because it allows you to basically put a plugin, let's say, below your video, and as people are commenting, other people see, oh, so-and-so is commenting, so-and-so says that they want the product, hey, I'll check it out. So that's one method to use in your pre-launch. Adding the Facebook comment plugin is actually very easy to do. For example, if you go to this site, you can see that I've added this plugin here, and it creates social proof, which is a good thing. And especially with the pre-launch, other people are wondering, are other people interested, or am I the only interested person? If other people are interested, then it might, make people more interested and so forth. So definitely want to install this plugin into your site, preferably right below your video. And to do that, all you need to do is go to Google and type in Facebook comment plugin, and then you're going to get this link here. So you can pause the video if you want to, copy it, and then go to the site. But this is where you would get the code. Now what you need to do is you need to enter the URL of your website, whatever that might be. And then you need to enter the number of posts. As you can see here, the number of posts here is displayed by default. So for example, if you put, let's say 12, then people initially are going to see 12 posts. But preferably you want to pretty much stick with something low, like 4 to 5, because if people are interested, they can click view more and so forth. This just determines the width of your comment box, and we'll leave it like that and click get code. After that, you can get the code. All you have to do is highlight it, click copy, and copy it wherever you want the location to be under your video and so forth on your website. Now, when you're pre-launching and during the pre-launch, you want to get your affiliates to email their lists to say specifically, heads up, check this pre-launch out, get some free content, and you want to make sure that your system is set up so that when your affiliates send people to your page, that if somebody does choose to purchase the product from you, that the affiliate is credited. If you use ClickBank, then primarily, usually they will get credited. But if you use a different affiliate software, then that's something that you need to think about as well. So get your affiliates to email out, get your affiliates to blog about the upcoming launch so that people can see why they will want to buy from you by you providing good free content, and the content must be something related to your launch, and it must be something people are willing to pay for. So I think the best way to usually go about this is to look at your product and just take a piece of your product out and give people your product, not your whole product, but a piece of your product. And if you think about it, it's sort of like movie trailers. They tend to put their best pieces in the trailer. Well, in this case, you can give maybe the best content that you have. Don't give all of the content, but show people that, it's worth waiting for the actual launch for all the other content. Hey, welcome to video number 8, which is the big launch day. So you've made it this far, you're ready to launch your product. It's time to launch the product, but there's a couple things that you need to do before you even think about launching your product. I would say a couple days before launch day, you want to make a test payment. You should have done this even before the pre-launch, but make sure that you make a test payment, go through the process, see if you can have a friend that can go through the process, see if it works, if it doesn't work, see what needs to be tweaked. Because the worst thing that could happen is if you do make a test payment, let's say a couple hours before the launch, and it doesn't work. It just creates panic, creates lots of stress for you. Make sure that your payment processor knows you're about to make the launch. Make sure that your web hosting company knows about the launch. Make sure that everything is ready and your affiliates are getting credited. And you want to do all of these test payments and tests and make sure that everything works. Now let's talk about the snowball effect. Snowball effect is very powerful and it needs to be used as soon as you launch the product. The best method to use is, let's say, for example, that you launch a product and then within the first hour, what I want you to do is document, document. Pretty much document all the sales you made in the first hour and write it down. So within the next 12 or 24 hours, document, how many sales you're making, what the conversion rate is, and so forth. Because what you want to do is after the first day, contact your affiliates. Say, hey, we noticed that it's making this percentage in conversion rates, making 5% conversion rate. The first hour we were able to make 100 sales, or 50, even if it's 50 sales, or even if it's 30 sales, you just got to document. Keep an eye on the server, make sure that the server is okay and that everything is okay within the first 24 hours. With a snowball effect, however, you want to keep contacting your affiliates, maybe every other day or every day. Keep them in the loop so that they know, and that'll help them do whatever they need to do to increase conversions. Because if you don't keep them in the loop, they don't know what's happening. They don't know if it's working or not. All they can do is see it on their end. Keep contacting affiliates. Keep feeding your customers. What I mean by feeding is, okay, the customers come in, then what? Make sure your autoresponder, welcomes them, gives them the product downloads, and so forth. And keep talking to your list. Build a relationship with your list. Provide your list with educational material plus with other sales promotional material as well. So you want to keep a balance and build and feed your list. While that is happening, you want to email your prospects, keep providing your affiliates with more resources, do split testing, tweak it, see what converts, see what is helping, and so forth. Basically, the whole idea is to keep the momentum going. After the first 24 hours, I'd say 3 days in, see how many sales you've made, see how many sales you could perhaps tweak the sales page and so forth. Keep contacting affiliates. This is actually the best time to begin to contact affiliates that were perhaps on the fence earlier. You can approach them, say, hey, so-and-so, one of my affiliates, he promoted it. Within the first 24 hours, he made such and such 5% conversions or whatever earnings per click, whatever measurement that you are using. Constantly contact affiliates. Then if you can find a JV broker, see if they're interested. Because if you do have the statistics and your product is converting well, this is the best time to approach people. But you have to keep doing it. Document the 24 hours, 3-day period, and the 7-day period. Then after that, do it about twice a week. Keep documenting it and updating your affiliates with as much information as possible. And see what you can give your affiliates that will help them convert prospects into customers. Because if you can focus primarily on this, then you're using the snowball effect, and then you are using that momentum to keep going. Because the thing is, there's a lot of people, when you promote a product, there's going to be a lot of people out there who have seen your product, but they don't know if they really need it. So your goal is to keep the momentum going so that you can reach these people. I know the idea is very simple, but the key is to document and to continue to approach affiliates and to continue to communicate with your customers. The worst mistake you can make is launch a product, it does really well, and not contact your affiliates and not build a relationship with your customers, because right after they buy, that is the time, the best time for you to build a strong relationship with your customers, show that you actually care about them and that you can help them along the way to use your product, maximize the potential of your product or system, software, videos, system, whatever it might be. But bottom line, keep the momentum going, because if you don't, it'll die out, and once it dies out, you can't get it back. And I had one of my product launches. It was a six-figure launch. Within the first month, I sold about 500 copies of a piece of software, but I didn't keep the momentum. I lost it. Eventually, it sold about 1,200 within 3 months, but after the 3 months, I didn't do anything, and I did a little bit here and there with my building a relationship with the customers. But after a couple months, I stopped, and because I stopped, the momentum stopped, and it died out. And till this day, I realized that was the biggest mistake. Now I keep the momentum going, because once you have it and the snowball effect is continuing to increase and continuing to go forward, you can keep it going for a long, long time, but that really is dependent upon you. Now, if you just stop there, then you're still leaving a lot of money on the table, which brings us to video 9. Hi, and welcome to video number 9, which is the follow-up. The reason for the follow-up is to help people that are sitting on the fence to buy your product. Most likely these people know that they need your product, but they're sitting on the fence. In other words, you're leaving a lot of money on the table if you do not follow up. Most people are scared, possibly affiliates are scared to follow up with their list because they're scared that they're constantly nagging their list to buy this product. But there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. Obviously, you don't want to email your list, every day. But if you feel like, your list might benefit from the product, then following up, there's nothing wrong with following up. Now, I have seen my first launch that I launched a software product. I remember when my mentor, he promoted my product and he said, look, okay, first time he promoted the product, he made about 35 sales. Now, if he had stopped there, then that would have been the end of it, unless somebody trickled in and bought the product. But he showed me, he said, okay, there's a lot of people that are sitting on my list that may have not seen this email or may have seen this email, but a lot of people, they need to see an email or an ad several times before they actually buy. And if you look at statistics, you'll see that even with autoresponders and things like that, if a prospect doesn't see an ad until maybe the 7th time, usually the 7th time is when they buy the product. And with the follow-up method here, you're not trying to email them 7 times. You're just trying to email them 2 or 3 more times. Well, going back to my mentor, he promoted my product again using the documented data that I gathered. Within 24 hours, this many products were sold. He told his list that, plus he showed them, why they need the product and so forth. Now, obviously, in this case, when he promoted it again, 50 extra people bought the product. And then at the end, because we were using scarcity and we were doing it was a $97 product, but we were selling for $67. And I had a time limit of 72 hours for the special. And by the time he sent his 3rd email, he made well over 100 sales. So you can imagine if you had stopped the first time, you would have only made 35 sales. The second time, you brought in 30 something more sales. And if you stopped there, you would have made about 60, 70 sales. So as you can see, there is power in the follow-up if you use it correctly. Obviously, you don't want to say, buy it now, you need it, kind of thing. You want to let the customer make their own decision, but following up is very powerful. Whether that's following up with affiliates, if an affiliate, you follow up with an affiliate and they say no earlier, but you follow up with them and you say, hey, I made about 90 sales in the first 3 hours. I was wondering if you were still interested in promoting my product. This is actually the best time to get other affiliates on board by showing them your statistics and simply following up. So again, most people don't email their list over and over again due to fear. But remember that you're leaving money on the table by not doing it. You don't need to hammer your list about it, but you want to at least follow up once or twice.